Hello.
Hi.
How are you today?
Literature's free.
I'm sorry?
I said the literature is free,
Oh, okay.
and the scriptures will take you into your own Bible.
Is Fred around today?
You just missed him.
I did.
Yeah. He was here, about an hour ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've had a couple nice conversations.
Yeah, he's a very nice brother.
Last time I was here, he gave me like a business card.
A contact card.
Yeah. Yep. There was a question I had for him about something in this Christmas issue that you have here.
Maybe I could answer for you.
Or you
Maybe
can text him.
Karina.
I think I have
There was
his number.
There was an article. One of the articles in here talked about what Jesus looked like. Are you familiar with that at all? Have you read that article?
Well, they don't really know what he looked like.
Right. I gather as much. But one question that I had though, there was a paragraph in here that seemed to indicate kind of a contemporary opinion about the way he might have looked, and I was just curious what you might have thought about it personally.
What does it say?
It's like the third or fourth paragraph down. It says that Jesus wore a beard, as was customary among Jews,
Right.
in contrast to Romans. So Romans didn't have beards and Jews
Right.
did.
Right.
So therefore I would assume that Jesus followed the Mosaic law.
The Mosaic law.
Yeah.
So were those requirements in the law recommendations, or
They
were
weren't
they
requirements. They weren't
weren't
requirements. He just did
It
that.
was just a customary thing.
Because he was a teacher and a rabbi. Remember how in the Bible it says, Rabbi, Rabbi,
a law? Sure.
tell us. So yeah, the rabbis had beards.
So if he was a man that was following the Jewish law at the time, he still would have lived up to the Mosaic law, though. I mean, he wouldn't have said, well, this isn't something that I
Right.
choose to follow, right?
Right.
Well, my reason for asking that, it says, such beards were a symbol of dignity and respectability.
Yep.
It says they were not long or unkempt. Jesus undoubtedly attended to or trimmed his beard and had his hair neatly clipped. So that sounds more like a contemporary fashion thing that we would say, because the Mosaic law actually said the opposite of that.
Did it? I don't know. I couldn't.
Do you guys have a Bible here somewhere?
Sure, we do. Which?
Because I found a scripture in Leviticus.
Leviticus?
Leviticus.
Where?
In Leviticus 19.
Okay.
And so those set out the law. So it says at the beginning here, Jehovah spoke to Moses, speak to the entire assembly, you should be holy because I am holy, respect your mother and father. So he's talking about a lot of the things that are like in the Ten Commandments, for an example. If you go down to verse 27.
Yeah, there are a lot of laws here, huh?
Yeah, a lot of laws.
Yeah.
It
You
says,
must
you
not
must not
shave.
shave the hair on the side of your head or disfigure the edges of your beard. So the Leviticus law, the law that was given to Jewish men was not to shave the edges of your beard.
But you're saying that.
And this paragraph says Jesus undoubtedly attended to or trimmed his beard and had his hair neatly clipped. If he did, he would have been violating that verse.
The hair on the side of your head.
Cut your side locks.
Right. Or disfigure the edges of your beard.
Okay, and that
So it says you weren't supposed to trim the edges of your beard. And this
Unless he
article
just
says,
kept it short.
but if he kept it short,
Right.
he would have trimmed the edges of his beard. So the Jews, of which Jesus was a male Jew.
Right.
He attended the temple. He was under the Mosaic law. That was a law. That wasn't a suggestion. Like, if it's not too much trouble, you could choose to follow it. It said you must not. And this says that he did in this paragraph.
You must not shave the hair on the side of your head. You must not trim it or cut it. In other words, let it grow out like we have.
Or,
Okay.
or what? Or what does it say next?
Huh. That is a good question. That is something I would ask Brother Lang about that. And, you know, he might be able to answer you on that
Well,
one.
it was
because
29, you said, right?
1927.
1927.
Mm-hmm.
Or cut your side locks.
This is
Sure.
a good question.
So, for an example, I mean, if you go to communities like, you know, you could find them in a lot of cities.
Oh, yeah.
Chicago or you know, New York City, or
Orthodox
the Amish,
rabbis,
the Orthodoxy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They
always
have
keep their locks.
they have the locks on the
Right,
side, so
right.
they're following they're still
Right.
following that law,
Mm-hmm.
and the men don't trim their beard.
Right.
So
right.
that was still the law.
So I wonder why they said that.
Well, that's my question,
But
because
we are no longer under the law.
was Jesus under the law?
At that time,
He was at that time.
So if he was, why does this paragraph say that Jesus undoubtedly trimmed his beard and
If
had
he
his hair
was-
clipped?
If he was
Well,
under
here
the law. I
it just
can answer
told you
that.
what trimmed his beard meant. His side locks.
No,
No.
it's
No,
two different things.
they're saying two
It
different
says you must not shave the hair on the side of your head or disfigure the edges of your beard. The Bible
Okay,
very
just
clearly
figure the
says
edges of your beard.
that you're not supposed to shave the edges of your
Talk to
beard.
the priest, Aaron's son, and say to them, no one should defile himself. That's not it. For a
Yeah.
dead person.
So all of the 19th chapter of Leviticus, you know, reiterates what had been said earlier in the Bible about the Mosaic Law, and the reason for it is my understanding is so that way that the other nations around them could identify who an Israelite was just by
Yeah,
looking
the
at them.
Jewish, right.
So how they, you know, their appearance and how they carried themselves, they would essentially broadcast the fact that they were an Israelite based on the law that they kept, and Jesus was under that law.
But I wonder since Jesus was, it could have something to do with the fact that Jesus was from the tribe of Judah. It could be that law that we just read applied to the Levites, to the priests. I'd have to go back and read it to make sure. I'm not sure.
Just if we just have a conversation about that, then if that's true, that if we were to use that approach, that means that everything else in Leviticus 19 would fall under the same
To the
thing.
Levites, it's hard to. Yeah, I'd have to.
Well,
read
because
it
it says, for an example, it says
Speak to
you
the
should respect your
entire
mother.
assembly.
It speak to the entire assembly. It says right in the beginning of the chapter,
Yeah.
verse 3. You should respect your mother and father. Let's see, verse.
It's the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, it says. Let's see.
Yeah, that's what this says. You must not
Verse 10, you must
steal,
not gather the
curse.
leftovers of your vineyard, you must not steal, you must not deceive, you must not curse, you must not be unjust in your judgment. The chapter was talking to the whole nation, to the whole assembly.
Right.
So the thing, I guess the problem I would have in reading an article like this is that, you know, when I'm reading an article entitled, What Did Jesus Really Look Like? It kind of belies an ignorance of what the Bible says, because the Bible specifically says Jesus or any Jewish man wouldn't have shaved, and it says here that he undoubtedly had his hair neatly clipped.
Neat.
Keeping it neat means clipping it. Clipping it means he's destroying the edges of his beard.
Well, clipping it.
I wonder what we need to do with this is go to the this is the New World Translation, the one before that, and see what that says. Do you have that?
What's the one before that?
And there's no way I could, let's see. 19...
I don't have access to that.
1927.
I took it off my tablet years ago.
But another Bible's going to say the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. We can go into another Bible.
Okay.
We can go to the English Reference Bible.
Okay.
I don't know if that'll
Try the
do
King
anything.
James and see what that says.
I don't have the King James.
Let me see if I can call it up. I'm not good with this tablet, so please bear with me.
Sure.
Well, here in this one, it's stressing you must not cut your side locks short around, and you must not destroy the extremity of your beard. Now, I don't know what that means. There's so many different
what translation is that? But I mean, the thought's the same. Don't cut your side locks.
Yeah.
And don't cut the edge of your beard.
Right. Right. I know this one, the tattoo, that got me on that one.
The tattoo?
Yeah. You must not put tattoo marking upon yourselves.
You know there's another scripture in Leviticus that says you shouldn't eat fat either?
Okay. At that time, they were protecting, these were laws that guided them to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it wasn't good for them. But, let me see what else.
So do we still use that law against, do we still have the dietary restrictions?
Under the law.
We're not under the law, so then
when Jesus gave his life,
okay,
that ended the law.
So it was okay to start doing some of the things that were listed in there that we couldn't do, like trimming the edge of your beard and eating fat and wearing 2 different types of cloth and eating blood and stuff like that.
Well, if you notice, have you ever been to a slaughterhouse?
I haven't.
Well, they will kill the animal, put it up on a hook and slit its throat and let it drain.
It's 1927, right?
Yes.
And the Hebrew is different. Don't shave your head, and don't destroy et pe'at zekanecha. And zekana means the white of your beard. Don't shave the white of the beard.
Don't shave the white of your beard?
The white of the beard.
So what, that's Hebrew there?
But that's in the Hebrew version, so it's kind of different.
You read Hebrew?
Or, yes. Or it could be, if not the white, it could be zikonecha, meaning don't destroy the aged part of the beard,
So then,
so
then why would the magazine say that Jesus shaves and neatly trimmed? I mean, if Jesus went to the equivalent of whatever a barber was back then and said, "Hi, I just want you to take a little bit off the edge," wouldn't he be considered a sinner if he did that?
Or disfigure the edge.
Right.
That means to
cut.
Yeah.
If you cut it off,
see how my bangs are?
Yeah.
They're disfigured because part of them long and part of them short.
Okay.
That's disfiguring something. Well, when you trim it like I should have, it's neat.
Well, that's the thing. If Jesus had a neatly trimmed beard, he would have been violating something in the Mosaic Law. I mean, it's pretty black and white, it seems.
I hate this computer.
It all really depends at this point, because everything cut, so conglomerated. It all depends who they're directing, and I would have to, find out who they're targeting, because it doesn't.
But doesn't the context of the 19th chapter says God spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the entire assembly of the Israelites."
Yeah, it does.
It answers that question for us at the beginning of the chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, constantly it's to the Israelites. Yeah. So, that is a question, if you don't mind, that I can bring it up to one of the brothers and they may be able to answer it. Would be all right with you?
Sure, absolutely. I was just
they
curious.
Might know the answer.
Where would they find that answer?
What they would probably
website back here, jw.org.
Yeah, and the website.
The
website, when you put that question in, it points me to this article. And this article is not in harmony with what the Bible says. Now, interestingly, there is a paragraph in that same article. It's the next sentence of that same article. It says, "Only those set aside as Nazirites, such as Samson, did not cut their hair."
Right.
And that's also not true, because Leviticus 19 says that you're not supposed to cut the sides. Now, granted, Nazirites, like Samson, didn't cut his hair. Jesus wasn't a Nazirite.
Yeah, Samuel was also a Nazirite.
Right,
yeah.
but he was a male Israelite.
Right, he wasn't a Nazirite.
Right.
Yeah.
So this reference to Numbers and Judges, this doesn't apply. This has nothing to do with Jesus. So why that's in the paragraph? So I
That is a
went to that
really good
website. I
question.
put that specific question in, and the only thing it did is it pointed me back to
them.
this article, which raised the question in the
The
first
other thing
place.
you can do is you can write to them. Because that's what I would do. I would write to
You
them.
want me to call Fred and see where they're at right now?
Well, I mean, I don't know if he was just one of the gentlemen that I spoke with.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be unless he's an authority. Is he authority on the subject or something?
That would, the authority would come
He has
from Brother
been in the truth
Dystein.
a lot longer than we have.
Yeah,
He's
for
been what?
sure. He would know more of the Bible than we have, but I think there's another one, and that would be Dystein, who's really good on that.
Or Brother Bielfeld.
Oh, Brother Bielefeld. Yep, I would go for Brother.
So what
Bielefeld.
would they have access to that we don't have access to here?
The organization for
Read
one.
it and studied it a lot more than we have.
If I write down my email address, could you have somebody get back to me with that
Yeah.
answer?
Sure.
Yeah, I could do that. I have to call him up anyway. My car is doing some crazy stuff.
Is he a mechanic?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. Well, she'll take it down, or I can take it down, whichever. No, what I have is this. Let me just. My iPad has a mine of its own.
Yeah, but let's write.
There we
it
go.
down.
Let's go
That
old
way
school.
we
We got
can
a
get it
pen
to-
here.
She's got a pen.
Just write it down
Sure.
here.
What's your name?
My name's Curtis.
Curtis?
Yep.
That's a nice name.
Oh, thank you very much.
I like that. Okay.
It means courtesy.
Ah, nice. In Latin, that's with Latin then, huh? Curtis. What's your phone?
I'm sorry?
What's your
I'll
phone?
write it down here.
Okay. I'll copy it. I'm glad you came over and asked about it because, it keeps us on our toes too.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It helps us to learn more.
I've read a variety of different things on that website over the course of time, and it just seemed that that was an article that, when I read it, I just
And let me see. Well, here. I don't know what she's doing.
Another thing you could do is go into jw.org
okay.
and go to publications and go to Insight into the Scriptures. No.
Yeah.
No.
Insight would be good.
You think?
I think so. I think you're right about that. Let me just copy
Yeah.
his email.
Why? You don't need it.
No, just so we can both work on this. If you find
I'm
information.
going to give this to the brothers.
Oh, you want to know the
yeah.
answer too, right?
Well, they'll tell me. Go to Insight into the Scriptures, or just the Insight book. It's green.
Okay.
And type in beard.
Okay.
And you know what? I think I've got that book with me.
Oh, right on.
Hold on, let me check. I'll be right back.
Oh, you've got the book?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have it on my tablet. Somewhere.
So how long do you guys spend out here?
I do 2 hours. She does a lot more than I do.
Yeah?
I don't spend that much. It would
Oh,
be
okay.
nice if I did, but I don't.
So it's not too often that somebody reads the Bible to me in Hebrew.
Oh, yeah.
So are you Jewish?
Yes,
You
I
are?
was. I used to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. When did you become a Jehovah's Witness?
In 2012.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What precipitated the change?
Because I started to follow the teachings of the Christ, and the Jews never acknowledged him as being the Messiah.
Okay.
And there were lots of things that were that was being contrary from one to another. They weren't accepting his advice, his counsel. Well, you probably read the Gospels, right? And so I didn't like what the Pharisees and the Sadducees were doing at the time and how they treated him.
Oh, back in Jesus' day? you mean?
Yeah.
So
And,
did you ever look into
And the prophecies too.
the congregations that were like Messianic Jews?
I did, and it wasn't sitting well with me, because even they were not accepting the fact that Jesus was Jehovah's Son. And in the Bible, and even in early part of Genesis, the first Genesis, we could see that Jesus was Jehovah's Son. And we see in Psalms that, in some of the Psalms, that Jesus is the son of Jehovah. From many of the
So
details.
when you made that change, how did your family react to that?
They were okay. They were accepting.
Yeah, they were?
Yeah, they were okay with it.
Yeah, that's a pretty
Yeah.
understanding family.
Yeah, it is. They were, and actually, my son is in the military, so when he got back from Iraq, actually he left Judaism. He just was not satisfied with what was going on in the Judaic religion.
Mm-hmm.
And so he switched over and he became a Christian follower. And my daughter's out there somewhere. She's not sure.
What church does he go to?
I think he goes, I'm not sure, but he used to go to the cavalry, if I'm not mistaken.
Here in town?
Yeah.
He lives in town too?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
how's he like that?
but he follows sometimes the chaplain at the base, at the DM.
Mm-hmm.
He follows him too. He just recently got baptized, actually.
Oh, okay.
In Christ. So,
So was
he
it
came back to
was it
my
because
house.
was it because of your change that
No, he did this on his own.
Yeah?
He did this on his own. A lot of things changed him when he was, deployed.
Yeah.
And he actually came over.
You said he was in Iraq?
Yeah, he
Wow.
was in a couple of the deployments
We
there.
appreciate his service for
Fallujah
sure.
and all that
Wow.
stuff.
So based on his experiences, he kind of
Yeah.
had like a spiritual awakening?
Yeah, he had a spiritual awakening, and he just said, comes over and he goes, "Mom, see this cup?" That was the cup of his bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
See this cup? And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And he goes, "I don't want it anymore. Do whatever you want with it." He was really mad about it. But see, he lost, in my opinion, he lost a part of what's important. He lost that part of Jehovah. See, he didn't bring Christ with Jehovah. He knew Jehovah, but he didn't know his name. So he got blinded, and he didn't take. I'm not saying that you're blind or anything like that. To my son, I felt he got kind of swept away, and he didn't acknowledge where Jesus' origins were. His father, Jesus' father. He always talks about his father.
Well, yeah, he talks about his father, but I think when I read the New Testament, one of the things that strikes me is it seems that people who were Jewish had a real confidence in the fact that they had it right. They were endorsed by the Creator because they worshipped at the temple.
Yeah.
So the temple was rebuilt by Nehemiah after the Babylonian captivity. So they had the temple that had God's favor, and they were expecting a Messiah back in that same time frame, about the first century.
Yeah.
And when the person came that was identified as the Messiah, Jesus wasn't the only one. There were other people claiming to be the Messiah.
True.
The message that he had was not one of, "I'm going to lead you out from Roman rule." As a matter of fact, it seemed like he was almost being disrespectful to the Jewish arrangement. Because his message was that you're not going to need this temple to worship the Father.
Well, actually, when they were in the temple, and remember when he throws the coins?
Yeah.
Because he felt they were being disrespectful to his father. They were conducting business at the temple.
Okay.
And he felt that this is a sanctuary, this is a holy place. What are you doing? You're doing business here and taking money away from other people. This is Father's house.
So if somebody was conducting business and doing it in the name of the Father, do you think that Jesus would still have that same opinion of people who tried to do that?
If they did it in Jehovah's house, yes.
Yeah, Jehovah didn't
But what?
want that.
Well, I mean,
we already know
the Father
ahead.
doesn't have a house on the earth anymore.
No, not anymore.
But if people were conducting business and doing so in the name of God, I mean, you see these televangelists that are saying, donate to my ministry and do this, all these commercial type of things and asking for donations.
But this is why Jehovah's Witness doesn't do that. They don't demand.
Have you ever been to one of our meetings?
I've been watching there's a section of the website of broadcasting thing, and they're always asking for donations.
Yeah, well. But they're not doing it in the temple.
There is no temple.
Right, there is no temple.
But okay. So let's assume that I want to.
See what he said.
The message that I'm hearing when I've looked at some of those broadcasts is support what God wants to be done by going to the donation section of the website. This is not a comment that's directed toward either you ladies. I think it's wonderful that you're out here trying to volunteer to encourage people to read the Bible. But don't you think that there could be, it's a pretty slippery slope, that if Jesus was so upset with people that were turning the temple into a commercial venture, that anybody who engages in a commercial venture in the name of the Father is also something that could be reprehensible?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, and
because we do not use Jehovah's name like that.
Well, okay, so when I look at the website, your website is jw.org. You're using the name of the Father as a website.
We are using our name, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right.
And we took up that name in 1943.
Okay.
That name was adopted at a convention, and it's because we are witnesses of Jehovah. We can talk to you about Jehovah and tell you the good that he has done. And I know where you're going with this. People say, oh, well, you say you've got to donate. No, we do not. If you wish to donate, you can go to this site. If you don't want to, that's cool.
So if I were to, and I don't have a lot of experience with looking at your website, I just know what I've looked at firsthand. Is there a section on your website that would let me know if I were to make a donation to you ladies to support your work now? Is there a section on your website that lets me know where that donation goes?
I'll tell you right now where it goes. We build more kingdom halls. We have disaster relief, all these floods and everything. We go in and we help people.
Is there?
We bring food, we bring the blankets, we bring love and the support that they need. Okay. Yeah.
So,
which is funny because when my son went to Texas, he said it was all the churches and, including ours, said they're the ones who help the people. The Red Cross did nothing to help these people. And they're, designed, right? What does the Red Cross mean to you? They're designed to help.
Are you suggesting that the Red Cross did not help in the disaster?
From what I understand, because he was there, he had to go there.
If you were to go to...
He said that they weren't there. They weren't getting...
do you know how big of a city Houston is?
Yeah.
So, based on somebody's experience in one neighborhood, you could extrapolate from that the Red Cross was not supporting people during a flood? That seems pretty...
Well, I don't know where he got his information from, but he must have gotten it from somebody pretty important.
So, I know that at work I donate to a variety of different charities at work. And typically a charity has a listing on their website. Charities that do business in the United States have to fill out a 990 form, which is an IRS form. And most charities post that to their website to see that this is how much we took in and we spent it in the following areas. This much for transportation, this much for shelter, this much for food. Is there a section like that on your website where I could see?
I do not know because I have not investigated the website. I know, I believe it's monthly. The treasurer will tell us how much was taken in, how much the expenses were.
So, for example, we're coming up. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. If I were to make a donation, is any of that going to go to, coats in the cold weather for people here in Tucson, or meals for the homeless, or anything like that? Because I don't want to donate if something's going to just go to building a kingdom hall somewhere. If I'm helping the community, I would consider it.
It helps pay electricity. It helps people in need. The people that these hurricanes have displaced and everything. We go down and we help them. We help them rebuild their homes.
Okay. That sound. I mean, it sounds
So
great, and I would imagine as a
you
charity you probably do.
exactly where your money would go.
But okay.
I mean, you know, it's kind of hard to keep track of even $100 to say, okay, well, Curtis, he donated $100 and it went for this.
Yeah, well,
I
I'm
can't.
not looking for a receipt and saying that we're going to spend your $100 or whatever my donation would be in a specific place. But I guess my question would be, if when I donate to, let's say, for an example, the United Way or Salvation Army or Red Cross, I can go to their website and I can look at a report that says this is the total amount of the receipts that we brought in, and this is our expenditures. We spent this much on administration, we spent this much on clothing, we spent this much on food and on
Like
diapers.
I said, I don't know for sure, but I will ask.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you
Because
what.
I know it's posted on the bulletin board at the Kingdom Home.
Yeah, but that's more for the operational expenses of that specific building, right?
If I'm done earlier,
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, like for an example,
See,
is there?
sisters don't get involved in that. That's
No.
no,
Why is that?
because Jesus is the head of the congregation. Your husband is the head of you.
Okay.
So
I volunteer and I leave at 7:30.
But doesn't the,
sisters are kind of
and so
third level
I'm there till
people.
9.
Third level people? You know, there's a
Yeah, the
think it's,
brothers give the talks,
Sometimes
the
a little
brothers
earlier,
handle the
done,
money,
and I'm
the
gonna
brothers
try to
handle the
do it
literature. The
tomorrow.
brothers take care of
They
all
have
of
no
that.
out there to feed
We don't do anything
tomorrow.
other than
Are you familiar with the writings of Solomon in Proverbs, where he talks about the qualities of a woman, and where it says
vaguely.
so one of the things it says in Proverbs is that a woman of high value is running
I did.
the finances
fine.
of the household.
Yeah,
The
but I
household,
left him
not the
in
congregation.
living room area.
Okay.
I didn't close
So,
the kennel or
I-
anything.
Seems like you're selling yourself short.
No,
You should be able to.
believe it or not,
Yeah.
this is
No, you don't
great
need to bring
because
a kennel. I have a
we don't
bathroom,
have to handle
and I also have a
all
back
that
room, a whole
rigmarole.
big room.
Yeah.
all we've
You
got to
need
do
go in
is
there, which is
go
nice
out and
now, 'cause
preach
I
and
remodeled
teach
it,
people.
I remodeled it and
Okay.
everything. It's really
And now you were asking about the beard.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That, that, and that.
I don't leave mine on.
So it is in the insight book.
Just because because they're not part of the family, I never leave them alone together. So Andy would have the main part of the house.
Ah, look at this. The answer in the insight book
So I have control.
directly contradicts what's in that Watchtower. Look at this. Did Jesus when on earth wear a beard? Certainly it was a custom strictly held by the Jews.
Right,
Jesus, born a Jew, came to be under law, and he fulfilled the law.
right.
Like all other Jews, Jesus was dedicated to Jehovah God from his birth by reason of the law covenant, and was under obligation to keep the whole law, including the prohibition on shaving the extremity of the beard.
Right.
But sometimes I can start a little sooner. Just
So
depends
this
on the
paragraph, under the section, under the topic of beard, this paragraph says the exact opposite of what that magazine says.
No.
Got something to tell
Which one should I
Fred.
which one should I hang my hat on? This answer or the answer in that
this
magazine?
one.
So if this answer is in the insight book, would there be a correction in that Watchtower magazine?
So they have to give
They
me
have been known to make mistakes, yes.
So do they publish corrections?
Yes,
They do?
yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Write to them and tell them.
Yeah.
This is what the insight book says. Which one's right? Which one's
Well,
wrong?
I tell you what, I'm not a member. Wouldn't your letter
No.
carry more weight?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Because as a non-member,
Yeah.
you're reading our literature.
Right.
So that says something about you because you noticed the mistake when we didn't.
Don't massage whatever. 'Cause
Hmm.
you get stressed out from
That doesn't really make too much sense, but okay.
It
So,
does because we take their word
whose word?
that comes down from headquarters, so to speak.
From headquarters, okay.
As it should be. I
So if you're taking the word for something that we just had a nice conversation here for 5 or 10 minutes, and we indicated that the information from headquarters does not align with what they used to say,
Right.
and it does not align with the scripture that we just talked about in the Bible.
Right.
So why would I take anything from headquarters if a little bit of
Like I
diligence
said,
proved it wrong?
they do make mistakes.
Okay.
And when the mistakes are brought to their attention, they will publish a correction. It has happened before.
Have you seen other corrections?
Yes.
Yeah. Could you give me an
Yes.
example of a correction that you saw?
Oh gosh, no, I can't.
No.
And I'm sorry, I don't mean to make it sound like I'm putting you off. I had an accident and had bleeding in the brain.
Oh my goodness.
So I've got short-term memory loss.
Oh wow.
So
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. Was that recent?
a year ago.
Wow. Were you, was that a car accident? Or
Yeah, I was T-boned.
Wow. How are you now?
Well, you can tell when I walk, I'm wobbly.
I know,
Oh.
I know. That's
Well, you
I've
hang in
got
there.
short-term memory loss.
Wow.
yeah.
I've
yeah.
still got a broken hip.
Yeah, I
Wow.
know.
Well, bless you very much for being out here.
Golden, isn't he?
I hope that.
Jehovah blesses me.
I hope
And
you
he
keep getting
blessed me
better.
talking to you.
I like the golden.
Yeah.
So Labby,
I mean, this has been
That's a very nice thing to say.
Yeah, well, you brought to attention something that I would have never answered. I would have never thought about until I read those scriptures.
Well, I'm so glad we did have the conversation.
I am too.
Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day. What's your name, by the way?
Karen.
Karen. Karen, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name's Curtis.
Hi,
I look
Curtis.
forward to seeing you next time. Yeah, I've talked to Fred and
Yeah.
Renee. Is that his wife's name?
Yep.
Yeah, I've talked to Fred and Renee before. It was nice to speak with you. And what's your partner's name?
That's Corina.
Glorina?
Corina.
Corrine. Okay. Very
And
good.
as you can tell, my accident affected my voice.
Oh,
I
my.
lost my voice for months.
Was the other person at fault?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's okay.
Wow.
If he
That,
had been in an accident, it wouldn't
I'm
But
glad
they
that
were
I'm glad you're here.
illegal, so nobody found them.
So that's just my motto.
They did find them?
They did
Oh,
not.
they didn't find them. Oh man.
No, my attorney tried to find them. And
Okay.
Still working on that, or not really leaving out any hope for that?
I know.
No. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm so glad you're here today.
Well, thank you, Curtis.
Have a wonderful weekend.
All right.
You too.
I hope you enjoy the rest of this nice
You're
day.
welcome, and I'll
You too,
I'll
and
Yeah.
be safe.
Sure will. All right.
And I will be sure to give this to Fred.
Yeah. Hey,
I
as a
should
matter of
see
fact,
him in the
when you
morning.
email him, show him that page from that green book there, and tell him it says the opposite of the Watchtower, and we'll be looking for the correction.
I will tell him that.
Sorry,
Karina,
I
was
had
it?
some calls because I'm a pet sitter.
Oh,
And
okay.
so and I'm having somebody come in tomorrow for daycare. And so she needs my address.
It was a pleasure talking with
It
you.
was nice talking to you
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
You ladies have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay,
You
Bye-bye.
too.
thank you, Curtis.
I'm free.